let's talk about making our AI assistants less like instruction takers and more like real collaborators. Researchers at Google DeepMind are tackling a really fascinating question. Can we teach an AI not just what to know, but how to learn from us? In real time during a conversation?
I mean, we've all been there, right? You're talking to a chatbot, you give it a super important piece of feedback, a simple correction, and then the very next thing you say, it's like it never happened. Gone. It's like talking to a brick wall, and it's gotta be one of the most frustrating things about the language models we use today.
And this really gets to the heart of the problem. When we talk to each other, our conversations are adaptive, they're collaborative. We build on what the other person is saying. But with AI, as you can see here, it just feels so static and one-sided. The paper actually calls this a brittleness that feels totally unnatural, and it puts all the pressure on us to write that one perfect, magical prompt right from the start.
So to fix this, the researchers at Google DeepMind started looking at a really human idea. They looked at how we learn from each other, through guidance and feedback and just social interaction. And they tried to build that very same skill right into the AI itself. They've got a name for this approach, social meta-learning, or SML for short. And the key thing here isn't about just cramming the AI full of more facts and data. Nope, it's about teaching it the process of learning from others. Think about it this way. It's the classic difference between giving someone a fish and teaching them how to fish. The AI is getting a real skill, not just another piece of information.
Okay, so how on earth do you teach an AI a skill like this? Well, you put it in a classroom, sort of. The researchers set up this really cool training environment with two AIs, one acting as the student and the other as the teacher. So here's how they did it. First, the student AI gets a problem that's way too hard for it to solve in one shot, like a tricky math or coding problem. Then you bring in a teacher AI. This one already knows the final answer. But, and this is the important part, it doesn't just give the answer away. It gives hints and nudges and little bits of feedback. And over this back and forth conversation, the student model is trained to actually use that feedback to figure out the right solution on its own. It's literally learning by doing through a conversation. So that's the theory of the AI classroom. But did the student actually, learn anything? Well, the results are seriously impressive. Let's take a look at what they found.
Okay, now what I want you to look at here is that green line. That's our SML trained student. The bottom axis shows the number of turns in the conversation, and the side axis shows its accuracy. Look at that. With every piece of feedback it gets from the teacher, its performance just climbs and climbs, leaving the other model, that teal line, completely in the dust. I mean, it just flatlines. This is the proof right here. The model isn't just getting things right. It is actively getting better at solving the problem as the conversation goes on.
But hang on, because this is where it gets really wild. The researchers discovered that this learning skill is general. So get this, the AI was trained only on math problems, but when they threw completely different coding problems at it, the skill transferred over. Look at that blue line. The SML model still learns from feedback way better than the baseline. This is the big reveal. The AI didn't just memorize how to do math. It learned the core, transferable skill of how to solve problems with a little help. Okay, but this brings up another really important question. So far, the AI had a teacher helping it out. But what happens in a more real-world situation where the problem is kind of vague, or you haven't given it all the info? Does the AI just take a wild guess and probably get it wrong? Well, to deal with that, they came up with this really clever little trick called Q priming. Basically, they just pre-trained the model on a bunch of conversations that were full of useful, clarifying questions. And this graph tells the whole story. That orange line shows that the models with Q priming asked nearly 3 times as many questions. They were literally teaching the AI to be curious. And just look at the difference that curiosity makes. On the left, you see the old model's behavior when it gets a fuzzy problem. See that giant orange slice? That's hundreds of premature answers. It's just guessing. Now look at the right. The new SML model with Q priming almost stops guessing entirely and is over 5 times more likely to just ask a question. It learns to say, hey, hang on a second. I think I need a little more info before I can help you with that. So let's zoom out from the charts and the lab for a minute and look at the big picture. What does all of this actually mean for us, for the people who use this stuff every day? Why is a question-asking collaborative AI such a game changer? Let's just quickly recap the 4 main takeaways here. First, and this is the big one, this proves AIs can be taught to learn from our feedback right in the middle of a chat. Second, this isn't just a one-off trick for a single task. It's a general skill that can go from math to coding and probably way beyond. Third, this leads to an AI that feels more like a partner, one that asks for help instead of just making stuff up. And finally, and this is huge for all of us, this could be the beginning of the end for prompt engineering. It takes the pressure off of us to be perfect and moves us toward a much more natural conversation.
So this all leads to a final thought. Just imagine trying to debug some code or brainstorm a new idea or plan a big project with an AI that doesn't just follow orders, but actually reasons and learns right there with you. It's a total shift in what we think is possible. So it makes you wonder, what could you do with an AI that's not just a tool, but a true collaborator?